やりました、やりました、やりました。3人です。今さら仲間になりたいとか抜かしてきたんでぶん殴りました。
ご苦労様ですわ、リコ。
それじゃあいつもの3人前で。西野さんの右手冷たくて好き。
What's good, anime enthusiasts? Welcome to another exciting episode of the Clash of Titans between Yuki and Mishiro. Ooh. Now, this episode has some very interesting things that are going on. We get to see the dynamic, the real good dynamic between Yuki and Mishiro, how both of them operate. And now I really have to question, like, how does Mishiro now have that leadership ability, that pull? Like, she is moving like a mafia boss, as if she has all the pull in the world. Anyone who comes across her must obey her. She has that natural leadership charisma that all these other girls follow her. And then Yuki, of course, doesn't really have that charisma, but she has the renown, the know-how. She is the ghost girl. Her set of girls follow her because of her experience. So it's a nice clash between these two ideals, these two perspectives, these two titans and their posse. And I just gotta say, yeah, I believe it's very clear when you go through this episode and see which side has the definite advantage. And we also get this, and I myself, and I believe also for the audience as well, we get to see why Yuki believes her two previous games, that being Ghost House and Dangerous Lab, are shameful. And it was also pointed out to me in the comment in the previous episode on like some of the indicators, and I was like, I didn't really clock that. So thank you, Muripi. If I said your name, well, let's figure. Yeah, Muripi or Phi, whatever it is. We'll talk about more about that when that moment actually shows up. But yeah, we definitely get to see more of Yuki's weakness, and I can kind of maybe guess as to like how or why she feels this week. So let us begin with the beginning of the episode, which is us seeing like this big pool of water and these two glass discs that are floating and colliding, and there's a bunch of them. And we see Yuki with a woman in a bunny suit with bunny ears, and she has this big white hair. Who I think this person is Hakushi, her mentor. Why she's in a bunny suit, I don't know. But we see Yuki in her like outdoor traveling walking outfit. So this is like outside of the game. Why they're meeting up in a place like this? What did they discuss? We don't know. There's no dialogue. But getting into the actual game, Yuki's walking through the baths, and Yuki luckily has one of those tags. Remember back in the last episode that Mikan had one of those tags, and then she kind of took the challenge of drinking a whole bunch of water from the bathhouse, and she kind of did fail, and she had to offer up her own tag to the other girls. And of course we see Mikan, who had failed successfully, is just floating there lifeless in the water. So, and Yuki is like investigating the area. She's checking out some of that white preservation stuff, that fluff that some of the girls leave if they get injured. And someone is yelling out to her, and Yuki responds that she just woke up, and the other girl just instantly rushes her, and we get to see this small little scuffle and fight scene. Now, I will say, this is better than the wolf, and this is also what I believe possibly the best that we can get as far as like a proper fight scene in this style of anime, in this theme. My unfortunate like critiques are is that I wish we could have seen the definition, like the full details of the girls, Like, I want to see like the grimace between the both of the girls. I want to see the full, body definitions, rather than the watercolor kind of painting style that we're accustomed to. I would like to see more definition. And while they move about like they're on a 2D plane, and it's like you're playing a fighting game. Like, if you remember the old Tekken or the old Virtual Fighter on the PlayStation console, they move like blocky polygons, or like some old 2D Flash game. You know what I mean? It's the best that we can get, and it's fluid. But I can understand why some people would be put off by it. And I just gotta say, I believe this is the best that we can get. And of course, at the end of the episode, and at the end of this episode, and what the next episode is gonna have, I truly think that they can only go up. They can go down, but I believe if they really want to show off, they can really show off. Like, give us the full details. But enough about that. Yuki does win the fight very easily. And now she's asking questions like, who are you? What are the rules? Why did you try to instantly attack me? Who, like, peppering her questions. And the girl really, the enemy, or I should say, the girl who attacked her, really doesn't give an answer to any of the questions. But she has her own questions like, hey, if you really woke up, she asked, did you really wake up? Are you with the girls from the entryway? And Yuki's like, I don't know what you're talking about. That's why I said I just woke up. And the girl on the ground, she apologizes as Yuki lets her get up. And then the new girl says, hey, I'll answer your questions, but let's get to a separate place. We don't want to get jumped by the other girls. So they go into another areas of the bath where there's a sliding door. And on the other side of the sliding door, there's another girl that says, who are you? And when our girl who attacked us speaks out, the girl behind the door recognizes the voice, opens it up, and is completely relieved to see who this girl is who attacked us. Her name is Azuma. And we don't get to see the full reunion between Azuma and the girl, but you hear even more voices of girls. So there's a lot of them, like a lot of them. So when it settles down a bit, one of these unknown girls asks, who is that? And then Azuma answers, that's Yuki. She's an incredibly skilled ghost-like veteran player. So Yuki really has a reputation. She's got some renown. And Yuki introduces her to the immediate group of girls, because later on we get to see that there's a whole lot more. So after that, we now get to understand what the game is and what is the objective. So while Azuma and Yuki talk about the game, well, I'll say first, while Azuma and Yuki talk about the game, you can hear the girls having their own like personal conversations in the bath. And when the scene switches between both Yuki and Azuma in the background, you can see the girls also doing like their own thing. It's pretty lively, and I like that little attention to detail. So what is the game? It's an escape game, as most of these other death games are, and the tags are used to beat the game. However, there's only a limited amount of tags. And Azuma starts to ask Yuki questions about a hypothetical situation, saying that if you woke up earlier and you didn't have a tag, what would you do? And Yuki said that she would look for an exit if she woke up sooner and didn't have a tag. And if she reached the entryway, she would still look for an exit and wait for someone with a tag at the exit. And it's pretty smart to not fight or come across every single other player that you see, because you'll get very exhausted. And in that case, it'd be a good idea to form a team. And that's what Azuma says. That's how the entryway team was formed. These bunch of girls, they realized that some of them don't have tags and some of them do have tags. So decided, hey, why don't we team up, jump the other girls that are still like trying to either A, form a team, or B, or off solo, and grab the tags, knock them out of the competition, and call it a day. Yuki herself says that there's about 30 people. 30 people is the cutoff, given the number of stalls and the survival rate of these death games. She's thinking like, okay, there's a maximum of 50 players that came in, and about 30 people are going to come out of this alive. And when Yuki says that, she looks around and she notices all the girls that are like, doing their own thing and having their own conversations. She's saying, these are the slow starters. So if Yuki were to join this team, she's got the ragtag group of girls that don't really have any skills. Or the skills aren't in combat. So Azuma says that they have 9 tags. And Yuki goes like, that's interesting. Why hasn't the other team came by and attacked you? And Azuma says, well, it's very hard for them to reach a spot. The place that we came in, that's the only exit. And that wall of bamboo over there, they can't get by, they can't go there. Or I should say, they can't get behind us because of that wall. So it seems like that they're protected. Now, I want to highlight, when Azuma says this, she says she thinks that it's hard for them to reach a spot. She thinks. We're going to hold on to that. So after that, a girl comes over and asks Yuki for the tag. That's Sugiyama, the treasurer. And so surprisingly, and I understand why, Yuki easily gives over a tag. Now, why would Yuki do that? It's to, she's now part of the team. And Yuki kind of needs a group of girls in this scenario, as she did say that she would form a team. So now she's part of the team. And, she, I hate to say it, she needs fodder for her to survive. I mean, she will help them all, but when the chips are down, she's got some assets she can use, expendables if anything. But immediately in the next scene, we hear some thumps and some thuds, and we see another girl, a smaller stature, and she's standing over the pools with white fluff. That white fluff meaning, that's blood that's been puffed up into that white fluff, that preservation treatment. And that girl happily skips away. And while she does so, she's like, Mishiro, like Mishiro, or something to that tune. And she's hoping that she'll get praise from Mishiro. Oh, we got a little hitman. And speaking of Mishiro, we get to see the scene of Mishiro and that girl returning to Mishiro. This little demon, her name's Riko. And Riko's like, hey Mishiro, I got 3 tags. Give me hat pats. Give me praise. And Mishiro just, yeah, sure, come over here. And starts rubbing her head. And it's a real that relationship is woo. As long as Mishiro can keep Riko on a leash, Mishiro has a fighter on her hands. And what's even crazier is that Riko is like, I love how cold your right hand is. I'm sorry? You what? Okay. Riko, what kind of past do you have in order for you to say that? Actually, Mishiro, what did you do to Riko? How do you have this much charisma? Are you that cold enough for Riko to be like, oh, I want to follow that girl. She's got what I want. Or something of that matter. It's, as I said before, Mishiro looking like the godfather. Well, now the godmother. Looking like a gang boss. And during this scene, we do see Mishiro coughing. And when she opens up her hand, she has of course, her own white fluff. So it seems like Mishiro is sick or some other thing. Because Mishiro doesn't move that much. She's just sitting in her chair, acting like the queen she is. So back to, we'll say, Team Good, or not Team Good, Team Yuki. Team Yuki. Yuki and Azuma are going over the strategy with the other girls on how, just in case if they get attacked. So Yuki and Azuma are going to be on the front lines, and they're going to do a hit and run strategy. And the other girls will support them from the rear. Their goal is to try to defeat half of Team Mishiro, so that when there's a few members as possible, they can possibly make a deal with any of the remaining tags. If not, they have the upper hand and they basically run the bathhouse, if anything. And then we get a montage of Team Yuki setting up some traps, and they have a little bonding in this tense situation. There's nice music that's playing. It's so, while it's supposed to be like a nice serene moment, I can't help but feel uneasy in this situation, right? I don't want to say things have been going smooth thus far. I mean, they kind of have. I mean, the only real obstacle that we had was Azuma attacking Yuki, but you know, something just feels off, right? Like, is there something that we're missing? Is there something that we're overlooking? Foreshadowing. Like, we gave away our tag so easily. I mean, I guess it's okay. We can probably get one off of Team Mishiro, like during the scuffle, if it ever happens. Foreshadowing. But, you know, at this point, I just couldn't shake the feeling that, are we going to get betrayed by somebody on our team or one thing or another? Who knows? After that montage, Yuki realizes that, kind of need more knives. So 4 of them go off on a search for any mirrors to make knives of. They reach this big circular area which has some scraps. However, one of the 4 girls, Hiwara, is missing because she went off to powder her nose. Possibly got lost on the way. And then Yuki immediately calls over the girls to hide. And we see 2 girls from Team Mishiro, those 2 being from the last episode, as they're rushing and running and they're looking for Hiwara. And Yuki goes like, I'm gonna go find Hiwara. And we do see Hiwara, and she's got the injured ankle. And Yuki does eventually find her, but also at the same time, her pursuers see her. Yuki scoops up Hiwara, and she makes a mad dash to lose sight. And the way she does so is that she remembers the way that one of the girls showed her, and using that to her advantage, she breaks line of sight. The pursuers go in a different direction, and Yuki is safe. With that, Yuki returns with Hiwara and the others. Is another big happy reunion. And after some time, Azuma says that Hiwara's leg isn't so bad. We switch back to the other team, where the pursuers give Godmother Mishiro their report of what happened and who they saw. And when they mention a new player who seemed like a ghost, Mishiro twitches. Her mouth kind of moves. And I don't know if she is excited that Yuki's in the game or that she's scared that Yuki's in the game. Because remember, Mishiro said she wants to defeat Yuki. That Clash of Titans is coming ever sooner. So immediately switch back to Team Yuki. And Yuki and Azuma are having a one-on-one. They're alone. They're chilling. And Azuma asks, yo, Yuki, why are you in this business? Not saying, why are you playing the game? It's like, why are you in this business? You know, key choice of words. Business being like playing death games. And Yuki says, it's to beat 99 games. Once again, whoever hears that answer is like stunned that Yuki is like, wants to continue playing. But, you know, Yuki kind of returns the question, hey, what you in this business for? And Azuma says, it's for normal reasons. And Yuki's like, normal reasons? And Azuma's like, you think a girl as masculine as me does well in the real world? And Yuki's like, I don't see a problem with that. Hey, Ozma just goes off. It's like, wait, hold on. No, Yuki says, I don't see a problem with it. I mean, you're better off than people who refer to themselves in the third person. It kind of throwing some shade here and there. But Ozma kind of not talks back or rejects the claim, but Ozma says, like, it's not an issue whether or not I can wear my, uniform, act like a girl, talk like a girl. It shouldn't cause me any pain. But when I start thinking about it, Ozma struggles to talk to friends, go to school, leave the house, eat with family, do anything at all, really. And not to like go off on a tangent on it, but I like this. This is, a young girl who has, I guess, not masculine features, but easy. Ozma is not textbook, but like Ozma's a tomboy, That's plain and simple. Ozma's a tomboy, and she's like probably feeling weird that she isn't conforming to the social norms, that she should be acting girly instead of boyish. She should be wearing, these dresses. She should be talking like this, yada yada yada. While Ozma herself is like, I don't want to. I mean, I can. It's just like, I'd rather not think about how I should act, and rather I should just act the way I want and not really care of what people think. Ozma's like going through that stage in like a young teenage girl's life where they probably hang around too many boys, or they grew up with brothers all the time. So they have a much more rough attitude, and they're having difficulty of making, friends with girls because they live in two different worlds, or they have two different perspectives. Ozma being a tomboy and the girl being, I guess, the average girly girl, not valley girl, but, nails, Ozma, sports, that sort of clash of ideals. So that's what I'm saying. Anyways, what Ozma like boils down to is like, despite all that, it's kind of easy to eliminate somebody. And Yuki hearing that goes, hey, Ozma, I'll release you from the game. I'll get you a decent job so you don't have to kill anymore. Does that sound good? What do you think about that? And Ozma's like, hey, I'm gonna smack you if you do that. See, Ozma doesn't want any handouts. Ozma just wants that like rough kind of style, kind of let me do me, let me do it like my way, let me struggle. No handouts, no Mickey no Mickey Mouse stuff. You know what I mean? But some noise happens, or something off the side, or Yuki kind of feels or senses something. So they both stand. To me, it seems like the other team is approaching. Foreshadowing. One of the girls comes running in, and one of the girls comes running to Yuki and Ozma, saying that a bunch of people are on the other side of the wall. That wall being that was supposed to be behind them to protect them, it's being opened up, and girls are funneling it in. And Yuki and Ozma kind of dash out, and Yuki is mentally just kicking herself. She's wondering, of course, why didn't she check the wall? Why didn't she think of the possibility? And she can't use the wall of 30 as an excuse. I mean, she just can't believe her performance. Before I talk about on that, the ending is near. While the rain is heavily pouring down, we hear a lot of thuds and thumping. We see a lot of clumps of white stuff, and girls are just passed out, gone. It's a massacre. And there's little Rico just standing there. And it looks like next episode we get a standoff between Rico and Yuki. Now, when Yuki was kicking herself down, um, wondering why didn't she double check the wall. That is, one of those weaknesses that she has, that shameful display that she believes that she did in the previous 2 games, and it's coming to fruition here, and I can see that now. And it's, of course, why didn't Yuki check it? I mean, Azuma did say she thinks that the wall would protect him, and that the only way in was that exit. So why didn't Yuki check? I think, personally, my headcanon now is that Yuki got very trusting of those around her. Not so much a sense as being lazy or anything, but I think Yuki became more reliant on the girls trying to do their own thing, and rather than, guiding them or leading them. I mean, Yuki isn't really much of a leader. She's more like a good player. And she'll say, hey, if you just, do this and do that, you'll probably, get around. And that's probably one. And it's also probably because that maybe Yuki is also not quick to think on things. Or maybe she knows too much information that she doesn't want to overload those around her with stuff. And that she's better as a solo rather than in a group. There's a lot of factors that we can probably infer from Ghost House, but who really, knows at this moment in time. That's what I think. And it's also episode 6, which means that's the halfway point for the anime. And I've done this before with the other 3 anime that I reviewed on this channel, is that let's give a review update so far as to how I think about Shiboyugi. In the beginning of the first episode, I gave it I believe I gave it a 9 out of 10. And how I feel now at the halfway point, 9 out of 10. Still, I'm thinking this is a lot of a bias. Maybe this is more of the uniqueness around this anime that gives it a 9 out of 10. It's definitely not a 10 out of 10 because not everybody in the whole entire world will like this. It's very hard for, I say in my eyes, to get a 10 out of 10, to get everybody so on board with an anime of this caliber, an anime of this presentation, and an anime that does these things and has this perspective. Not everybody is gonna have like the high intellect to understand things going on, the, I guess, wisdom or the know-how or the cultural knowing to pick up on certain things, that sort of thing. It's a lot of intricate details, and of course the art style is really not gonna hit with everyone. I mean, if half of the scenes are not drawing the facial features or the body details of the girls, you're really gonna be instantly put off if you're not really used to that. But if you're willing to maybe not look past that, but understand the decisions done to really bring this anime to this certain style, to this light, and to accept it, then you're gonna have a good time. So in that respect, that's why it is a 9 out of 10. Awesome story, leaves you biting for more. There's a couple of gripes with the action sequences, and the slowness of it is really not gonna appeal to the mass audience. This anime is really niche in its targeting and what it wants to do, but when it hits, it hits. The payoffs are nice. The pacing is I like the pacing of it so far. It's supposed to be slow. You're being drip fed things. If anything, this anime could go on forever. kind of, not really, but I could talk so much more about it. That's why a lot of things that you would say negative about it are nitpicks. I believe the only few objective things that you can say are, the action sequences. It's not its best suit, even though it tries it wants to. I believe, I guess another one would be not enough concrete information to help the audience kind of understand what's going on. If that sort of a thing. You know what? Let's not say it like that. Let's say like the second thing is like an overarching. It is so different and jarring to watch something of this style. And I want to compare Shiboyugi, the style that it does, to the Monogatari series. Why do I say that? It's because that when there's a lot of scenes that have like it's only fills the upper third with like the whole entire image, and the whole bottom like quarters are like filled with blackness, and how some scenes where the image is shot really far away or something that's shot up really, really close. The Monogatari series does that always, immediately, and it's more in your face, and it's more punchy, and it's more sporadic. And I also love the Monogatari series. That's also one of my favorite anime series to this day, and it still stands the best of time, in my opinion, because it tells a more abstract story that really forces you to try to sit down and pick apart what's the real meat of the story, and then just have fun with all the extra fluff and whatnot. I think that's the nice game that they play. It's a dangerous game, but it's a style that they choose, and a style that works for that storytelling. Same goes for Shiboyugi. It's a slow burn. You really get to understand and follow Yuki through her death games. You understand some of the characters that she meets, and it tells this beautiful yet horrible story about this deranged world that they all live in. That's why it deserves a 9 out of 10. In the comments below, let me know what y'all think about the episode, or let me know your rating for the whole entire series so far. Is it a 9 out of 10? Is it lower? If it is lower, let me know. If you don't like Shiboyugi, let me know why. I kind of want to know, not kind of, I really want to know and understand. Like, anime is subjective. Even though there are some objective things we can say, it is subjective. Not everybody's going to like what you like. Not everybody is going to not like what you not like. It's plain and simple. But as long as we can have a thoughtful discussion about it, I think we connect with one another and appreciate each other's opinions, taste, and style. That's it. If nothing else, I hope all of you have a good day, night, evening, morning, wherever you are. Ooh, God, wherever you are in the world. I need something to drink. And I hope your day is just a little bit better than it already is. With that, we'll catch y'all in the next episode. Peace.